Hello my friends, welcome to this video. I am Amir Karami. I'm working in projects as a BIM manager. In this free course, I'm supposed to talk about BEP, which stands for BIM Execution Plans. Well, it is considered one of the most important documents of the BIM process, and every BIM coordinator and every BIM modeler must have enough information about BEP. Why do we have BEP and what is its use for our project? And then finally, I will explain a series of BEP chapters to you. Alright, so we have here the role of the coordinator in implementing BEP. BEP definition. A BIM execution plan, BEP, is a vital document for implementing BIM. In fact, for implementing BIM, the most desirable state is to have a document that, by using and following it, enables the project to bring BIM to the execution stage according to its requirements. In simpler terms, the BEP is essential for the proper implementation of BIM in various phases of the project. That's it for BEP definition. Alright, in fact, in BEP, we write every single detail that we need in a project. For example, what are the goals of the project to use BIM? Or for example, what standards do we use in a project? Or what kind of formats we want to use for our files? Or how do we exchange files and how often we do this? And we have a space to share the files, which is called CDE. Well, an important thing is that we fully specify the roles and responsibilities of everyone and every team in that project. In fact, it includes all the details that we need in the project. And it's good that this makes everyone have a better understanding of the project. Everyone knows the rules, their responsibilities about what they're up to and what they are supposed to do according to the project. Well, BEP is prepared entirely based on the employer's information requirements, aka EIR. So, as I told you before, BEP defines the ways of exchanging information and data among different projects, teams. The roles and responsibilities of each team are specified in this document. The objectives of using BIM in the project are stated in this document as well. Alright, let's get to the next slide, which is about EIR, as I told you before. Okay, very good. That's it. The role of the coordinator in implementing BEP, which is we are talking about this, employer's information requirements. EIR refers to the requirements, expectations and needs of the client in the project. In the first step for a project, you need to receive data called EIR from the employer, actually your client, and then reply to that EIR via BEP. Hence, BEP fully covers the EIR. And as you can see this diagram, this is from the standard 1192. Well, here it is said that we receive from the client and then we will design a BEP based on it. Well, we have two types of BEP. Pre-contract BEP, post-contract BEP. When you receive information from a client, you're providing pre-BEP, which is called pre-contract BEP as well. Well, it is your answer to the client's needs. Well, if you decide to work together and move forward with that project, then you go to post-contract BEP, which includes many different chapters. Well, it is very comprehensive and complete, and the most extensive cases are discussed there. Okay, let's get to the next slide. Well, we have three types of information in EIR. Okay, so this is a slide. Let me get to the next one here. Categorization of information available in EIR. The first one is technical, determining the required project levels, necessary software, etc. Well, in this category, we are saying about types of our files and what are the required levels of our project, what types of format we need for the files. All right, the next category is management, competencies and responsibilities of key individuals in the project, establishing security standards, and etc. Okay, the last one, commercial, budget allocation, and project's strategic objective, and etc. Well, EIR is a very broad topic for which we can make a separate webinar and talk about it completely. Well, so we cannot explain everything in this webinar only. BEP is based on EIR in general. Every chapters that I'm supposed to talk about in this webinar, in this video to you, it is based on EIR, which is so important for us because its main goal is to cover the needs of the client in the project. Okay, that's it for this part. Well, now, why do we say that we should use BEP? In fact, when you are an employer or contractor, everyone has a responsibility, and it is possible that everyone has their own expectations. When you don't plan or don't know what employers expect, then you may encounter a series of disagreements during the project, or you can't get a good output from your project. Hence, if you plan and know that your employer's expectations are you will never have problems and you will have a solution for all of them. Or even before we want to start the project and run it in Revit, there are many questions. What types of format we should use, or what the standards should we use, and in what platform should we share our information. So if you plan and think about these things in advance, you will save a lot of time. Sometimes the project may be stopped due to some problems. And at this time, thinking about the solution to these problems is pointless and doesn't advance anything. So it is possible that you will not be able to deliver your project on time. And this will make you save time when you use BEP and pay more attention to details. And hence, you will be able to deliver your project on time. And in BEP, we clearly define the implemented goals of BIM. And this makes it easier for those who are working on the project to achieve these goals. One important point is that a series of new people may be added to the project. And it is a reference point that you can use for this process through your project. Well, and they have a detailed understanding of the project implementation process, which makes them able to do their work better. All right, let's get to the applications of BEP for the next slide. All right, let me get to it here. Please give me a moment to get to that. All right. So let me read it for you. The necessity of preparing a BEP. It is crucial to deliver the project on time. It clearly states the objectives of BIM implementation, making it easier for project members to achieve these goals. It serves as a reference point to describe the process to those who will join the project in the future. So you should remember all these points that I told you. BEP is so important. It is so useful for you in a BIM process. That's it for the necessity of preparing a BEP. And for the next slide, I'm going to show you the applications of BEP, which are so important, which are so crucial, and you should remember all of them to do your work better. Here we go. Applications of BEP: increasing collaboration between teams, accurate understanding of each individual's roles and responsibilities involved in the project, timely project delivery with an appropriate budget, clarifying the structure of communication and collaboration between teams, since BEP is a live document, as I told you before, and if any changes happen in a process, BEP is going to be updated, so that it makes it for all the teams to work together always. And we can make a diagram that will show us the relationship between the groups in BEP. And the last item is focusing on important details in the project. Since BEP works a lot on details, you never forget that you need to change some details in your project, which means that you don't need to change many of the work processes at the last minute of your project that you want to deliver it. Even in international projects, focusing on important details is so important. Well, there may be certain protocols and standards in the international project that you need to design and write BEP, and it may take time to prepare BEP as well, but it is very valuable and it is worth it. Well, let me tell you, BEP is unique for each project, although there's a general template for every project, but maybe you need to change some chapters, add it or remove it from your BEP, but generally it's the same in each project, but it is different in details. For example, if you are supposed to write a BEP for a project, you don't need to rewrite it again for another one. Well, as I said before, preparing, providing and writing a BEP is time consuming. But by doing this, you will save time, and in a long time you will see the result that it's really worth it. Well, BEP makes you not miss any details, as I told you before, and even if new people join your project, they will be informed about the work process, work details, and this will make your project more complete and not miss anything. And even for international project, they are doing this. If I want to get a conclusion, doing this work is very vital and beneficial to your project. Hence, I highly recommend you do it and not miss it. Alright, that's it for this video, and I hope you got some information about BEP and BIM process. Well, let's talk about the contents of BEP. And we have series of chapters in BEP as well. Well, these chapters refer to some things that maybe you should know about. And here we have 6 of the most important chapters compared to the others. Well, we have some chapters here, as I told you before, which are so important. For example, project information. You cannot delete it at all, and you should keep it for your BEP content. Or you are able to add some chapters to it or delete some chapters from it. Actually, it is based on your need. It's according to your need, okay? It has many chapters, and I want to mention some of them here and explain them to you. Alright, the first one is project information. Let's get to it and let me explain it to you. As I told you before, project information, it is in all BEP and you should keep it and not delete it at all. Well, we accurately mention important information about the project in the BEP. It includes various sections. Well, the first section is project details. Well, as you can see this picture, it is about project details. Well, it is talking about project owner or project name, project location and address, and etc. like that. Well, there is a table in BEP that we bring in the project detail section. Well, the next section is project milestone, and this means that the project schedule is how long we have to deliver the project. In fact, it is a kind of project planning that we do it in BEP in project milestones. Well, BIM coordinator has a role in determining project milestones. Well, the role of the coordinator in implementing BEP is like that we have to change a chapter in BEP. For example, one day we have to get an output from something and then deliver it to our client. And when our client delivers the output as a PDF file, well, and after that we can get the comments and opinions. We can see where the problem is and fix them, and then get a final output, which is a CAD, and deliver it to the client. If there is no PDF downloading step, the coordinator will recognize it that it needs to be, and then it will inform BIM manager, and after that BIM manager will update BEP. Well, as I told you before, so project milestones is a project schedule that we show in the form of a table in BEP. So we can plan and we can check the schedule, so the process will be okay, everything goes right. Very well, there is nothing special anymore about project information about this slide. Let's get to the next one here, project goals / BIM objective, aka BIM use. Yes, they call it BIM use as well. Well, what is it exactly? Well, every client has a set of needs and expectations in every project, and their goals are different. For example, a client says that I want less lost materials, or that I want less time to be spent on building a project. Hence, you should categorize the goals in relation to the implementation of BIM, which is called project goals. That in this chapter it is clear, as you can see in this list, that there are some goals. Well, these are defined based on the needs of the client. Well, the steps that you have to take to reach the project goals are called BIM use. There are a series of steps and tasks that you have to do to reach the project that you want, that they call it BIM use. Well, we should define different BIM use for our project, that BIM coordinator, which again has an effective role in this job for us. So that's it for project goals, BIM objective, and BIM use. Okay, the next part is about process map, which is related to BIM use here. Alright, we have process map here, the process of implementing BIM uses, and designed using a diagram. As you can see, we have a diagram here in this picture.
That is, we actually show the execution order of each of these in the process map, which is the same as the general process of project implementation. Because this ends with the goals of our client. Okay, we have types of process maps. Here, two types: BEP overview map, the first one. It is the arrangement of BIM uses that is designed based on the diagram. Well, it is including the names of the process and BIM uses, or which person or team is responsible for running these BIM uses. And for example, in order to do these BIM uses, what information needs to be shared? Well, it has an important part that I will talk about it later more. Well, it has a detailed title that forms the BEP detailed map. Well, in BEP overview map, we will specify all the BIM uses and the process of their implementations. And in BEP detailed map, we will show what needs to be done to reach the BIM uses. Well, in this process map, we have create for the model part here. Well, that it has a detailed map which is called for the modeling. Well, as you can see, it says in order to have a 4D modeling, we have to specify order of construction steps first. Now the person who is responsible should write the schedule in MS BIM, and then we have our 3D model, and after that we should link them together, for example in Navisworks, and then we should do the schedule job. Okay, that's it only for a BIM use, and we have kind of this process for each BIM use in detailed map. Well, BEP overview map, so it was for general things for all of the BIM uses, but BEP detailed map was for each one of them. Okay, that's it for this part. Process map, as I told you before, it has two types. The first type is BEP overview map, and the second one detailed map. Okay, the next part is quality control, which is so important. Well, in this chapter we check the model of our project based on a checklist that we have in our project. And BIM coordinator has an important and fundamental role in this work. Well, our checking should not be like doing modeling and then checking whether it was based on BEP or not, because it will be very time consuming. Hence, you first need to see what the needs of BEP are and develop your model based on that. Then we will check to see if we haven't missed anything, and we will see if it is based on that BEP or not. So it's a question, what should we check? Well, we will check the model itself first to see if there is anything extra. Well, we should check clash detection as well. And we need to define the BEP standards and see if the process is going according to them or not. For example, the naming of our files in the project is based on the 1192 standard that goes for 2007. And now these are specified in BEP. And in quality control, we check whether these standards have been considered in the project so far. And also we will check whether the development of our model was based on the client's needs or not. Well, obviously it takes a lot of time, and also it is so important for us. It helps us in our project, and BIM coordinator does this job as well. Well, it takes some PDF files from the maps and then put some comments on them. And that's it for BIM coordinator job. Okay, here we have technology infrastructure. Okay, the required technology and infrastructure in the project, it could be software and hardware based on each defined BIM use in the project. For example, for the modeling, as I told you before, we need a software which is Navisworks. Or for example, a BIM coordinator suggests us to use a specific software for any BIM use that we have. Well, then it informs the BIM manager about this, and if it is necessary, its BEP will be updated. Hence, if we need any software or hardware information for each BIM use, we design it in a table in BEP. Well, in this image, as you can see, there is a section for the software that lists BIM uses. In fact, it tells us the name and version of the software that is needed. Alright, that's it for the technology infrastructure part, and the next chapter is model structure. Well, in this last chapter, we see how is the naming structure of our files done. For example, it is 1192 standards or not, or even making folders in CDE is according to which standard. A BIM coordinator can define a template for the company that it is working for. For example, for naming the files or making folders, setting folders. Well, these pictures that you can see are based on standard 1192, that how making folders should be done, or naming files. For example, the name of the project comes first and then the name of the company that it is working for. And you should figure out on what basis you should make zones for your project. And even you can make a discipline for it. And BIM coordinator can customize these works based on their own local company. If I want to draw a conclusion, I must say that you can design and plan all of this in the form of a template and a table so that you don't run into any problems. Well, I did explain all the chapters of BEP to you. If you have any questions, be sure to contact me. Okay, that's it. And I hope you have a good luck.